Perhaps in Shadowkeep, auto rifles might actually occupy the mid-range. If that's the case, you might want to get your hands on a 600 RPM kinetic ether ductor. In Season 7 PvP, the high impact auto rifles as well as Suros Regime and Hardlight outperform pretty much every other legendary archetype. What sets the ether ductor apart from other legendary autos is its consistency and the fact that you can farm for it. By just repeatedly doing lost sectors, you might get the ether ductor you want, versus a half Dan, you have to turn in gunsmith materials, and the raid high impact auto rifle, well, you have to do Last Wish or you have to do Crown of Sorrows. Check the timestamp on the screen right now, and that will skip you to how to farm for this auto rifle. But for now, I'm going to talk about what perks I recommend on the ether ductor. For scopes, I prefer the close range sights, but if you can handle medium or long range sights, then by all means do so. The magazine perk should probably be high caliber rounds. I think that's the strongest out of all of them, but if you get armor piercing rounds, don't scoff at it, it'll still do pretty decently. For Perk Slot 1, I think there's only two real options. It's Quick Draw if you want to clean up a sniper rifle, and Tap the Trigger if you want to use it as a dueler or just an all-around daily driver legendary auto rifle. Now, the second selection of perks is probably where everyone's preferences are different. For me personally, if I'm going to go for a Quick Draw in Slot 1, I probably want Rampage in Slot 2, just because if I'm going to clean somebody up, that means by killing them, I proc Rampage, making the follow-up, the second duel, that much easier. Now, if I go for Tap the Trigger, I want moving target, so I can go all in on aim assist and movement. There's definitely a good argument for any perk in Perk Slot 2. I mean, there's Rampage, Slideways, High Impact Reserves, Under Pressure, Pulse Monitor, which is probably the worst of all of them, and Moving Target, which is probably the best out of all of them. The most consistent farming method I found was to use the Winding Cove Lost Sector, the Weep, that's what it's called. For boss DPS, I'm using a 1-2 punch shotgun and a sword for extra mobility, but feel free to use whatever you really want. This is just a frame of reference. When Winding Cove finally loads, just head forward and jump in this hole marked by all these pine trees. The hole's a little windy, and you want to conserve your jumps so that you can get across as fast as possible. Once you're here, head forward, then you're going to cut right, and you will see some enemies, but you can skip those. You don't need to deal with any of them. Now, I like to start proccing my Deadly Reach and Combination Blow and stacking it up to ×3 so that I can farm the boss easier than ever. So 1-2 punch, punch, 1-2 punch, punch, 1-2 punch, he's dead, and it's over. That took 1 minute. Now, I spent a long time trying to find the absolute best method. I suicided, and I spawned up near the middle of this Lost Sector run, and I was timing it out to see if it was faster to climb all the way up to the start. And finding the path was kind of tricky. If you can find a better path, let me know, but I'm going to shoot over there now. You can see that it doesn't look like you'll be able to grab on it, but of course there's some like invisible geometry there where you can stand on. Then you just wiggle your character a little bit and you can jump and stand on it. And now this is a difficult jump. You got to sweep outward and then inward with a triple jump, or you have to have on high jump. But I don't recommend high jump because it's going to slow you down ultimately when you farm this. This is only marginally faster than just reloading with a solid state drive. But if for some reason you're playing on a Nintendo Switch, then you better get really good at platforming. I even tried to use a Titan and float as high as possible to reset it manually, but it turns out you actually have to grab the ledge. I even tried going out of bounds and then dying trying to trigger a load section. There is an area near the chest where you can kill all the enemies and then a door opens and you can force reload the chest, but unfortunately that doesn't spawn the boss. If anybody finds a better method, let me know, but it's not going to be the end of the world if we shave off 10 seconds or not for farming an ether ductor. What you're seeing in the background now is a run in progress of the Skydock 4, I believe this Lost Sector is called. Yeah, don't do this one. I didn't do this run perfectly, but you can still see it's already significantly slower, and this is with pretty decent sparrow driving. So even if you were to take the perfect lines and move as fast as possible, you still would just be breaking even with the much easier Weep Lost Sector. so I just recommend going to the Winding Cove and running the Weep as many times as you want. Overall, the Ether Doctor isn't a high priority get. You don't have to go out of your way to acquire this immediately. You could even wait till Shadowkeep is well into it. And if you're noticing that you might need something to fill the mid-range a little bit better, then keep this in the back of your head and maybe go get an Ether Doctor. Because if you wanted to use a Suros, a Hardlight, or a High Impact Auto, you have to be lucky that they are a competitive role, or that you get an exotic in the first place, or Xur might be carrying it. For the rest of the video, there's just going to be clips of this in action background, so feel free to stay, but if not, thank you so much for watching the video. I appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next one.
You have advantage. This is wonderful! Double down. You're getting stronger as you fight. I love it! A fire team that fights together stays together. Zone C locked. Down. Double down. Zone B locked. Double down. Strength in numbers, Guardian. Excellent. One after another. Zone A captured. You have advantage. I want more, Guardian! Together as one. I love it. Zone C locked. Delightful! Ikora would be proud of you, Warlock. Two for one. You're dominating the field. Don't let up. Two for one. 3 opponents down. Your moments of clarity are weapons.